For those who don't know, Clay, many months ago, announced their plans for 2019. It was going to be a set of content updates called The Return of Them. And now, we are 4 updates into that shindig. The Turn of Tides, the Lunar Biome, the Salty Dog updates, and the most recent, Hook, Line, and Inker. All very fine in their own right, I guess, apart from maybe the introduction of all the seafaring, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I must say, the Lunar Biome, and yes, even the Hook, Line, and Inker updates are probably my personal favorites. And I actually have planned another video like this one to discuss all 4 of them, just to see, like, hey, these are our Reign of Giants Part 2 sort of updates. How does it compare sort of deal? But let's just focus on the most recent one. The one that was supposed to make the ocean worth a damn. However, I want all of us to be on the same page. No, this update is in no way bad in any imagination, not even close. So please, this title of the video is really only there to not only catch the eyes, but the reason for asking or saying the second part of the title of this video is one overarching question that we will get to. I like the update. I really do. So, I am also not here, and you guys should know this by now, to take away any positive thoughts and or experiences that anybody's having with this. Because, to be honest, I haven't had a negative experience with this update at all, this beta update at all. And even when it's launched, I probably won't. I am not here to do that in the slightest. And in a very similar vein, I am not here to bash the update nor bash the game itself. I am here, sitting here, to want to help it. And perhaps we all can do that. Maybe we can just all sit here, be a little rational, be realistic still, and truthful when we need to help maybe guide the game in the direction that it needs to go to. Us, as the community, as players of the game, can do that. Our voices can be heard. So maybe we can do that right here, right now. And of course, the first topic is the bulk of the update, the new fishing mechanics. And I am happy to report that I still find them simple, intuitive, and fun. You know, going into it, I was thinking it's either going to be stupidly simple or it's going to be overly complex. Nope, they found that sweet spot, and I am all for it. It has depth too, and no, I don't mean like a swimming pool's worth of depth. I mean like maybe a little pond here and there. But in this game, that goes such a long way. It's not just cast, go, fish, cast, go, fish. We still have that with the freshwater fish in the pond, but this is what I think people kind of yearn for now. Don't Starve has been around a long time. Don't Starve Together has been around a long time. It's why people are kind of getting bored. They're kind of getting bored, and I don't blame you. And it's why people who maybe might not like farming or just do like farming but has gotten a little monotonous, they want gorge farming mechanics to be in the game. And you know what? I'll stand right behind those people. And let's not downplay it either, folks. This is a massive addition. The 10 new fish, 11 if you count the freshwater fish, even though they're still technically the same thing. But the new craftables, the new structures, the new mechanics, the new resources. This is a really big update, and it honestly almost snuck right past me. So, if I am into that, why am I calling it into question in this video? But here's the deal, here's the answer. I am not calling that into question, not at all. I love it. Give us the content, blah, blah, blah. I am calling in the question and sitting here asking myself kind of the unfortunate question. Why should I take part in all of this cool new stuff? I'm going to do my best to showcase and relay both sides of the equations here. And the first part being, you should absolutely take part in this new fishing stuff, because the new fishing recipes and even pre-existing fishing recipes benefit tremendously from these changes, but maybe not in the way that you guys would have thought. But surf and turf, seafood gumbo, and California rolls have found their way from Shipwrecked to our dinner plates in Don't Starve Together. And holy moly, the former two are too good to be true. I mean, just take surf and turf, for example. Like the classic dish, the absolute monster of a dish. 2 fish, 2 meat, including monster meat, for 60 health, 40 hunger, and 33 sanity. Dare I say it? That is meta shattering. And did I mention that you can just use 3 fish morsels from, freshwater fish or eels to make this thing? Yeah, it's really freaking good. So much so that single recipe is enough to justify the argument for seafaring itself. But did you catch what I said there? Did you really? You don't have to go out on the ocean to take part in these new recipes that came with the update that's supposed to make us go out on the ocean. You see the problem here? Here's that overarching thing, folks. Here's that overarching thing that justifies this video and justifies everything that's going to come after it. And a question to Clay. What's the incentive? Of course, I just argued that the recipes are obviously the incentive to go out there. But I proved that navigating the ocean is not required at all. And actually might be worse and is certainly more time consuming than just staying on the mainland to fish from the ponds or get some eels from down under. So unfortunately, there goes that idea. But the other benefit, of course, because it's also multifaceted as always. It's new, right? It's new. So of course people are going to want to take part in it, including myself. And you know what? Can't blame you. It's fun. I like it. I like discovering the new stuff. So that I am going to leave that untouched because I 100% agree. I 100% agree. It's new. You want to take part in it. I will comment on how that is unsustainable, but for now, enjoy, people. Enjoy. And the third little thing that I would like to discuss that has some people have kind of argued with me already, only for me to say something in response, and they're like, oh yeah, you're right. I kind of feel so bad when I do that sometimes because that's not my intent. It's just like, I do this. I ask this. With having such fruitful access to these recipes, and yes, these easy to catch fish, right? That sounds great right there. If I ended right there, that sounds great, and that's where people have been ending. But then, let's add this question to the mix, which is what I've been doing. Can you legitimately sit where you are right now and tell me that you are going to legitimately choose to go about all the seafaring stuff to get these things for your survival methods over all the other survivor methods that we already know and have been using for years? Because even when all the hype fades, because again, it's new, are you really gonna bother with this? I know my answer, and again, I'm not here to tell you otherwise. I'm just asking you a question. But you should always play your way and have no one, I don't care who it is, content creator or otherwise, tell you how to play otherwise. No. This is your game, your experience. I am not taking away from you because the problem isn't ours. The problem is Clay's. And I was going to move on at that part, but I just thought of this kind of right now as I was going through my little tidbits here. Some people have also said it's good that we have options. I agree. I am not arguing against the options. But in this next segment, and a couple seconds to follow, we're going to be kind of discussing how if we think that way, just to say like, oh, it's another option to do, then we kind of get a little numb to the idea that content added to any of our games, not just Don't Starve Together, any game out there in the world, content for the sake of content is not content that drives a game forward. There is just not enough true gameplay incentive to take part in these recent changes, okay? Apart from just having something to do on the water. And that is the content for content's sake. Listen, it's a change we all wanted, including myself. And it's a change that I can get behind still. Again, it might not sound like it. I have no problem with this update. I really don't. I just want to say that there was just a couple more things. There's a couple layers that could be added still, that might still be added once it's out of beta, just to make things a little more essential, okay? That's the whole idea. Make it a little more essential and not like, hey, look, I caught one of the new fishies, and guess what? I'm going to display it in this new thing just to show your weight. And then that's it, right? That's a category that you don't want your content to be, especially when it's new content. And I'm going to give you guys examples of how they did this right, okay? How they did it right. The first being a newly added mob, the Skitter Squids. The Skitter Squids are some of the best freaking mobs we have seen across all of Don't Starve in years. They're unique, they fit the bill, as they say, with their design and everything. It's perfect for an update like this, perfect for a game like Don't Starve. Plus, they actually serve an actual purpose, and that's where things get different. They are non-fish meat on the water, and they potentially provide light bulbs. That means better cooking, and the idea that a caveless world can potentially have light bulbs and thus lanterns and refueling. That, from a single mob, is better than the 10 fishes that came before it. And that's just a round of applause for Clay right there. That's well done. Honestly, since the lunar biome, I've been somewhat disappointed in some of these new additions, right? But they've nailed it. They've nailed it. The Skitter Squid is what a Don't Starve mob should be. And I get that we shouldn't necessarily put the 10 fish prior into the same category, but why not? Why not? Well, I'm not saying they have to be on the same level. No. I'm saying give the 10 fish a little more use than just maybe showing them off or killing them in the meat, right? Because we can get their meat in other locations than on the water. Therefore, they are pointless. We can just stay here. It's just, you need to give gravitas. You need to have gravitas to everything that you do, not just one or two things. Because there is another mob that they've done half right and half wrong, and that would be the narwhals. I fancy them, I love them, but the problem is they lack a purpose, at least when they're dead though. The encounter and the fight itself are well done. I enjoy it. I love running into something else on the water that isn't just a very poorly designed boss, let's just say, because my goodness, them albatross, that's a whole topic of conversation too that I can't believe I haven't had yet. But combat on the water is still monotonous and overly frustrating, as I was kind of alluding to. But this beast is kind of how I want combat on the water to look like. It's great. I just wish that killing it meant something more, especially considering it has 1,000 frickin' health. Listen, there are a lot of worthless mobs and worthless items and worthless mob items in this game. And Don't Starve and Hamlet and Shipwrecked and Don't Starve Together, it's all there. It is all there. But 1,000 health mob, which is also very elusive, mind you, in its spawning locations, and can honestly prove quite challenging when fighting it on the water, should have a drop that is much better than its horn. As far as I can tell, and as far as everyone else can tell so far, the horn serves one purpose: making waves and pushing stuff. Okay. Have it do damage, maybe? Have it maybe propel boats for whatever reason and not just push them away, I guess? Make it befriend other narwhals? Something. Because we can already gather and relocate things on the water without having to push them via a boat, which most people do, but you can still find them on the beaches of the lunar biome and all that, or having just to spawn these very not long-lasting waves to push them a little bit. Yeah. We'll see if it gets altered. It probably will. But I like the narwhal. Great idea. Needs to be a little better on the execution. And just to wrap up the whole fish nonsense before we have two final talking points. They should have, and I don't know why they haven't, maybe they will when it's fully launched, they should have had the different fish have different stats to give you, apart from having to murder them just to get fish meat and fish morsels and stuff, right? Like, why is it 0 health, 0 sanity, and 0 hunger for every fish? That doesn't make any sense. You know, you don't have to cook fish. You can eat raw fish, right? You can do that in the game before, so why can't you do that now? Even something as little as that, honestly, might have been enough. Because imagine, the medium fish obviously have a little better stats here and there than the smaller fish. Okay? That is unique enough to make us maybe want to go after them, right? Or maybe the bigger fish provide more meat. And now, I do know that some of the smaller fish do have a little cheeky thing that happens with them. The popper fish, I'm pretty sure they drop popcorn, which is very nice. Or maybe it's the corn cod. The corn cod gives the corn, blah, blah, blah. And something else gives something else. I get it. But 2 out of 10, 2 out of 11, practically, yeah, not enough. If they, honestly, I'm going to say it. If they just made it so some fish had certain status effects different from others, that would be different enough for me to kind of reverse what I was saying, you know? Not so much so. They would have to do a little bit more, I think. But it's enough. It honestly would be enough. Considering everything else, I'd be A-okay with that. But now, the lures, the bobs, the baits, the weights, all that stuff. They are the much needed touch to make the fishing feel like fishing. And I know that probably sucks for people because people find fishing boring. I get it. I don't have a worry there. I don't have a worry. But maybe it's because you don't have to use them currently. My worry is that when we will have to use them, because as we know and as I've kind of showed in my video, you don't need to use any of them. You don't need to use any of the things that you find in this new crafting structure, and I'm so sorry I forgot the name of it. You don't need it. You don't need it. But when we do need them, come the full release, I just really hope things don't get stupidly complex and overbearing. That's the big one. I don't like boating. Again, we know that. But if they tack on having to carry multiple tackles and multiple baits and multiple this everywhere I go to truly take part in catching the new fish, then honestly, I really will just not bother with it. More so than I've already not bothering with it. Because as I've said and proven, we don't need to. You can access all the new recipes, the fantastic recipes, without ever stepping foot off land. And honestly, you can catch all the small fish, all 5 small fish, and sometimes even the bigger fish without even leaving the coast. So, yeah, there's a problem there that I'm not really sure how to fix. Because once again, then that just becomes content for content's sake, but with another layer. It's content for content's sake that is and was added for the sake of content. It's a 3-layer thing that all of them are meaningless. That is a really bad problem, because that just tells me that Clay didn't boil it down and truly figure out how these new changes were truly going to fit into pre-existing mechanics in the pre-existing world. And they hopefully don't create unwanted obstacles so that the gameplay experience becomes quote-unquote locked by our own little thoughts and direction, because we don't want to deal with it anymore. You know what I mean? Like, if we don't want to do it because it was made overly dumb and just not worth it, man, that's a waste of content, ain't it? But here's the quote-unquote final talking point. Think before you update. I'm sorry it has to be said, but Clay is not exactly batting 1,000 when it comes to these recent changes, at least in my opinion. But even after they do adjust things, they just don't get things so simple right at all. Like in this case, work got debuffed for no reason because changes were made for basic gameplay loops, items, mobs, etc. that have stood the same for ages, but then suddenly got a tweak without considering the actual downside of said tweak. That's just updating because maybe people were crying out for an update. Can you do that, and can it work? Yes. Does it work often? Nope, as we know and as we've just found out. And if you don't know, I'm talking about the freshwater fish changes. I probably should have started with that. Again, it's a very small downside, and it's very manageable. Don't get me wrong. I am not in the same boat as others who are saying, oh my gosh, this is terrible. This needs to be changed immediately. I am saying that this is just one of those didn't need to happen moments. Didn't need to happen. So why did it happen? Eels can still be stacked, and freshwater fish are still technically the exact same fish as before. So why should one character be hammered? Also, it's a new character, mind you. Why should one character get hammered for the supposed benefits of the others? Like, what was the real thought process behind the change there, Clay? This is, again, likely very much going to change. But the point, again, is just be smarter about the updates, Clay, because to me, they're starting to feel a little sloppier and sloppier. Once more, I'm not here to bash the game. Nor will I likely ever bash the game unless I tear the whole thing down to the foundations and completely change everything. So before we do kind of dip into that, I'm going to call it quits here. It should be absolutely obvious, everybody. It should be unbelievably, unspokenly obvious. I obviously want the game to succeed for my fair share of reasons, be it content creation or just the fact that I've been with the game for so long that I'd hate to see it kind of do a Yui on us. Do I expect that? No. But there's been a lot of start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. Continuous updates are obviously fantastic for the player base. It draws in new players and it brings back old players. But I am not going to shy away from speaking my mind regarding said updates, especially if I feel that they quote-unquote hurt the game in its entirety. That's my issue, folks. I enjoy the game. I adore the game. And honestly, I kind of am whatever on the seafaring now that there's some things to do, blah, blah, blah. But they 100% need to fix the dang boats. Honestly, if they fix the boats, it changes everything, in my opinion. But we'll talk about that when we talk maybe the full update. But I can't help but sit here and just think that these changes are already meaningless. Like, when I go to load up the game, I'm not going to go like, oh, time to go fishing. Nah, I've already experienced everything. And, some people haven't. I get it. Some people are still going to be all about it. But as I said earlier, are you really choosing these because they're new? Or are you choosing these because they mean something? Because I have to imagine that 99% of the people are just so hyped about the new stuff still that they're not really sitting down to think that, yeah, they don't mean anything. It's great that the game has new stuff. Do not get me wrong. The options are absolutely wonderful, as we were discussing earlier. And I just want to say again, nothing negative, actually. I feel totally fine about the game right now. I feel totally fine about the game. I'm not here to bash it. I don't mind it whatsoever. I enjoy it. I would continue to enjoy it. I just got a problem. It's just like if the updates continue as they've been continuing since the lunar biome updates, I don't necessarily see where they're going with it, okay? I don't see where they're going with it. We need updates that stick, provide long-term, proper incentives, and actual true gameplay experiences that folks can and will experience in their respective playtimes. Not just more optional objectives that can be outright ignored. That's my piece, folks. That's my piece. And again, this whole video might seem otherwise, but I'm fine with the update. Totally fine. I have no issues whatsoever. This video, if you truly want to know, this video was just an idea that I had. And since I didn't want to do a Let's Play today or work on a guide today, I just said, okay, turn on the camera. Let's do it. Let's talk. Also, I do want to have a actual civil conversation about it because I do feel there are issues with the game. I really do. And I do feel like we are in a position where we can have a civil conversation. I know people are going to absolutely hate this because they hate me, hate the title of the video, or maybe don't like one word that I said, out of place. Just an out of place word. But just use the head, folks. Use the head, okay? Again, I am not being negative here. In fact, it's the opposite. I want to help the game. I want to make sure these changes are fantastic, the best they can be, okay? I'm not here to bash it. I enjoy it. I'm going to continue to enjoy it. I just want a reason to do it. But let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.